name's Jamie Rathjen. I'm the owner and founder of Fiat Femme. I'm also a fertility care practitioner and founder and director of a local healthcare center called Guiding Star Cedar Valley. And so I'm very passionate about the feminine genius. I'm very passionate about essential oils. And my goal is to use what I know in both areas, essential oils, feminine genius, and then amplify the feminine genius. Okay, so what I know about women, I'm speaking from experience, is that we are not told in grade school, even in college, about how the feminine body physically works. And so what I'm passionate about is sharing the truth about the feminine design. And so this video is going to be about the phases of the menstrual cycle. It's very, very broad. Okay, and then subscribe to my YouTube channel because you are going to learn more about each of the specific phases and the biological changes along with the emotional and mood changes that ride alongside it. Often we think that we as women, that there's like a liability in womanhood or something like that, which is very unfortunate because really, our femininity is a superpower. And as our biology changes, we change. So as we move from phase to phase through our cycle, our biology and our superpowers actually shift. And so there are ways to even amplify that. But before we can amplify our superpowers, first we need to know what our superpowers are. So as a fertility care practitioner, and as a femme-trained educator, I'm very excited to share something with you. All women, all men need to understand that a woman does not need to alter her feminine design. Because when we are unaltered, it's when we are fully alive, quite literally. So day one of our menstrual cycle is day one of our period. So when we talk about our menstrual cycle, day one of our period, day one of our menstrual cycle. Our menstrual cycle lasts between 5 to 7 days. During this time, the uterine lining is sloughing from the cycle prior. So we did not get pregnant the cycle prior, which is why now we have our period. The cycle prior, our uterine lining built up in order to hold and to house a newly implanted little baby. Okay, so the reason why that uterine lining was nice and thick was to house a baby. And we're going to talk a little bit about how that happens, okay? But when you don't get pregnant and when conception does not occur, then you slough that uterine lining and your body wants to start over, okay? During our menstrual cycle, often we feel crampy and we're tired and we need rest and all these things. But also, did you know that during our menstrual cycle, we are highly reflective and intuitive? Highly reflective and intuitive. We also need a lot of rest. Just like the soil and harvesting and farming and all these things, like we can't always have a full year of harvest. We can't. The soil needs to rest, which is why there's winter. So in a sense, our period is kind of like the winter time of our cycle. And it's when we need to rest because we can't be on 24/7. Like we can't always be running, going. It's important to rest, okay? So if you're tired, it's your body telling you rest. The reason you need to rest is because your body is wanting to boot up into the next phase. The second phase is called the follicular phase. So the follicular phase is a very creative phase. So as your follicle is developing in your ovary, so let me break this down for a second, okay? Your ovaries are almond-shaped organs. They're about 1 inch in diameter, okay? Almond-shaped. If you can imagine an almond, that's the size of your ovary, okay? So in your ovaries, even when you were week 20 in your mother's womb, before you were even born, you had all the eggs that you'll ever have. You had a lot more than what you'll ever have because they're all underdeveloped. They haven't started growing yet. But even when you're in your mother's womb, you have all the eggs you're ever going to need, okay? And it's crazy to think that our mother housed part of maybe my child. So I have 3 kids. My mother, when she was pregnant with me, I had the eggs of the child that would be conceived, 25 years later. It's pretty cool. So the follicle in the ovary is what houses the egg. So each month, 1 or 2 eggs are chosen, and then a follicle, which is like the house of an egg, it grows and it develops. And as the follicle, which is a cyst-like structure, as it grows, it produces the hormone called estrogen. And estrogen produces cervical fluid, and that is very important to understand and know. A lot of women think it's because they have an infection, but there's cervical fluid that we notice throughout our cycle, which is a sign of fertility. It's a sign of health. Did you know that? So that will be another video, but that's very important to know. So as estrogen increases, we start to notice more cervical fluid, again, which makes us very fertile. You know what also makes us? Very idea-oriented, highly energetic. What I love so much about that is that as our body is kind of amping up to create physically, to receive physically, crazy, we're also very creative in our mind, in our body. So this is going to be when your great idea comes to you. Maybe you're writing a book, or maybe you're creating a program, or you work with kids, or you're a teacher, or you're a CEO, whatever it is, it's going to be when you're at your most creative is when you're in your follicular phase. Okay, it's because of estrogen. As the follicle grows to maturity, it's going to be time for the woman to ovulate. So as the woman ovulates, her estrogen high, like way peak, like all-time high, not all-time high, but for that phase, all-time high. And during the ovulatory phase, the woman's very magnetic and attractive to others. So catch me later on YouTube video, which I'm going to talk about the nose. It's pheromones, pretty cool, but it has a lot to do with this ovulatory time. So during the ovulatory time, you're well-spoken, you're attractive, you have a glow, you're fertile. And you're not just fertile with your body, but you're also fertile with what you produce. If you're working or if you're at home or whatever the case may be, okay? So ovulatory phase, and there's oils, essential oils to amplify all of these phases. And we're going to talk about that again too. Like my Facebook page, Fiat Femme, visit my website for more information. Moving on, 4th phase. Your 4th phase is called the luteal phase. The luteal phase is the time in your cycle after you've ovulated. So that little follicle that held the egg, the egg punctured out of the follicle, and that follicle now it's called the corpus luteum. It shrivels up into the yellow body. That's what corpus luteum means. And now it's producing the hormone progesterone. So, day 1 of your cycle, period. Hormones are at their all-time low. Hormones are plummeted. Estrogen increases throughout your cycle. The follicle is producing the estrogen. It gets bigger and bigger. You start to notice the cervical fluid. It's a sign of fertility. It's a sign of estrogen. It's also a sign of high ideation. So if you're seeing the cervical fluid, sit down in front of a computer, write a book, do something creative, because it's going to come more naturally to you. And then you're going to ovulate. You're noticing a lot more cervical fluid. That cervical fluid goes away, and now the corpus luteum, which was the follicle, it's like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. Now it's producing progesterone. So this is the main hormone that's present in the 4th phase of your cycle, which again is called the luteal phase. The luteal phase is a time where you're very detail-oriented. So if you struggle with PMS, tons of headaches, maybe you're really bloated, moody, depressed, can't fall asleep, or you sleep so much, PMS is actually a sign of a health disparity. There's something off with your hormones. So a healthy woman doesn't notice severe mood struggles during this time unless there's a hormone issue. If this is you, there is help. You can try more natural means, or you can go see a doctor. Our center, Guiding Star centers, are around the nation. Please reach out to your closest Guiding Star center, because we know exactly what this all is. When you call them, we'll know what you mean. But there are ways to manage that naturally. Anyway, it's a sign of low progesterone. Your progesterone is dropping off, likely too soon. And there are other ways to tell for sure. Okay, but during this time, so PMS aside, during this time, you're really, really nitpicky and detail-oriented, which is a superpower, because remember, this whole video is about our superpowers. And if we understand our superpowers, we can play to our superpowers, right? So if I normally get really mad at my husband because the laundry's everywhere and the floor's a mess and whatever it happens to be, and I'm in my luteal phase, which is my 4th phase, which is the phase we're talking about. It's the phase before your next period. I'm going to realize that is just me. Like, it's my hormones. It's making me really upset. But if I know that that is my tendency and my issue, I'm going to go organize a silverware drawer. I'm going to go do something productive with this energy. I'm going to think it's angsty, but honestly, it's me being detail oriented, which is actually a super strength. It's a superpower. So what can we do to amplify these phases of the cycle? Well, if you use essential oils, I would recommend that you use them during these phases. And there are specific essential oils you can use for each phase to help leverage these super strengths. So a reminder, the menstrual phase, you're very reflective and intuitive. Get a journal, take naps, and rest, because you're going to need that ammo and that rest as you lead into your ideation phase, which is the follicular phase. That's when your follicle's growing and developing and creating. That's when you're creating. That's stage 2. Or phase 2. Phase 3 is your ovulatory phase. It's when you're most attractive and very concise and people are drawn to you. This is when you're very fertile. And then your 4th phase is your luteal phase. Your luteal phase is when you're nitpicky and you really want to tie up loose ends. Like, move over, Marie Kondo. Is that her name from Netflix? Marie Kondo, move over, because I can fold my laundry just as well as you can in that phase. Right? Do you guys know? You know. We know. Women know. So anyway, I hope this helps you. So subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is only the beginning. I'm going to break down each of these phases and talk a bit more about what's actually happening with your body, with your biology, with your emotions, with your behavior. And I hope it's going to really, really empower you to work to and to work with your body. So with that, again, visit my Facebook page, Fiat Femme, visit my website, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and please share it with all those you know who are looking to amplify their feminine genius.